So my specialty. Okay, I work at the Universiti Malaya, like Mas Tiara mentioned just now, since 1993, but not 93, 1997, okay, 97. But I started my career there as of course, junior lecturer, and then I was promoted to senior lecturer position, and then now I am an associate professor at the same university. So most probably that I will be in the university until retirement. Okay, at the age of 60. Oh, okay. My specialty is marriage and family therapy. Actually, this is my passion. Because when I was doing my doctoral degree many years ago, I mean, asked to specialize in two areas. So at that time I was still young. Of course, I like to be with college student, and then I chose college student in higher. I mean, counseling in higher education, higher learning, and then the second one is marriage and family therapy. So what I'm going to talk today is about I also actually at the University of Malaya I also teach I have taught many courses such as counseling from Islamic perspective. I also taught in the past. I also taught human development, but right now, the courses that are given to me is counseling theory and marriage and family therapy. Our teaching load are reduced in the recent years because we are encouraged to focus on research and publication. Okay. Uh, the topic of mental health, sometimes it is a very interesting topic among researchers, among academicians, among students in psychology and counseling. However, when we talk about mental health, with general population out there, I mean with public, there is still a taboo, there is still a stigma attached to mental health. So, why? Because mental health is for instance in Malaysia. Saya contoh kat Malaysia, kalau mental health sometimes right now maybe among urban population they have, I mean, a better perspective towards mental health, but in rural areas, for instance, those areas that are less developed, so their understanding on mental health is very limited. In fact, there are still many who think that mental health is considered, kita panggil orang gila lah, orang gila, so they should be isolated from the rest of the population. Okay, so our role as a psychologist, as a mental health professional, is to advocate what is mental health actually. When we in the for instance, let's say we want to compare, Indonesia and Malaysia with developed countries, they consider mental health as a form of illness. It is quite setara lah with physical illness, such as if you are having a diabetic, you need to be treated. If you are having a mental illness, you need to be treated. However, I think in our countries, in Asian countries, we are developing countries, although there is a better insight on mental health, people still think that those who are suffered from mental illness are having certain issues sometimes. For instance, in Malaysia, orang akan panggil, contoh, kalau if you are Muslim, if you say that you are having a mental illness, people are trying to persuade you to be closer to Allah, which is true. I don't deny that. As a Muslim, I don't deny that. But as a mental health professional, we don't know whether the connection between the person and his or her God, we just don't know. Even though the person is Muslim, we just don't know. We don't know how he relate what he's experiencing with his relationship with God. And it is not our role to judge. You ni sebab jauh sangat dengan Tuhan, sebab itu you dapat mental illness. Tu dah. Sebab mental illness adalah orang yang perlu dirawat. Mental health ni macam kita sihat lah. Kita sihat, we have to maintain our health. Okay. Satu lagi, institution juga masih lagi discriminate mental illness, mentally ill patient. For instance, the health insurance kat Malaysia will not cover mental illness. Tak cover. They only cover physical illness. Sebab dia tak rasa pun, walhal kalau kita fikirkan, let's say the physical illness, if you were born with that illness, of course we understand that insurance will not cover lah to treat that particular illness. However, if you were born healthy, mentally, physically, and then suddenly, due to foreseen circumstances, you are diagnosed with certain form of mental illness, tidak akan ada lah insurance company di Malaysia ni yang akan cover benda tu. So you have to, of course you can go to the government hospital lah to be treated, tapi tak adalah yang the health insurance provided by the private insurance company ni nak cover. Itu sampai macam tu sekali. Tapi kalau di barat mereka cover sebab mereka kira tu sebagai salah satu rawatan. Okay. Jadi actually saya ada sikit slide lah untuk dikongsikan dengan Pak Fajar dan juga audien yang lain tapi nanti dululah sekejap sebab saya nak intro sedikit lah, even though I know that you already know what I'm talking about but this is very important lah for us to we warm up lah the session. Okay, now let me share my slide. Okay, this is I choose this topic today because I think it is very important for us to discuss this topic. And so I'm expecting that the audience can interrupt me and ask question. It's okay because I like interactive session actually. When I'm teaching in UM, I will encourage students to interrupt. They don't have to wait until the end of the session to ask, because that will encourage all students to participate in session. Okay. I would like to highlight this topic because even though we learn a lot of theories, so many theories, the professors taught us so many theories related to mental illness, and then we are also we also learn how to use certain theories in treating mental illness. We'll also learn some techniques to treat mental illness. However, when you graduate, you will find that the reality is totally different. The reality out there is totally different because mungkin kalau masa kita duduk di kampus, kita ada contoh klien daripada kalangan kampus yang awareness towards mental illness tu is high. However, when we work out there, we go to the society, the environment is totally different. Sangat-sangat berbeza. Walaupun kemungkinan sebahagian daripada orang yang berjumpa dengan kita untuk mendapatkan rawatan gangguan mental ini adalah orang berpendidikan. Ramai yang tidak bersedia untuk berjumpa dengan kita. Mereka rasa kalau saya orang tahu saya ada gangguan mental, saya akan disisihkan. Perkara macam tu masih lagi ada. Okay, jadi sebab internet saya takut ada gangguan, so saya tak nak buat slideshow lah, cuma saya akan enlarge the size a little bit. I will enlarge the size a little bit. Okay, kalau kita lihat sorry. Okay, macam saya sebut tadi lah, the problem with using mental illness is that it imply a medical disorder, which is not the case. Why? Because all of us we know DSM, betul tak? Kita tengok DSM tu, DSM yang baru ni DSM-5, right? Previously it was DSM-4. Kalau DSM-4 tu ada scoring lagi, you punya Global Access Functioning, GF, kan? So the DSM tu, if you go thoroughly the DSM, I don't use DSM now because I'm a counselor educator. I don't work in clinical setting. But I remember when I was a student many years ago, when I was doing my doctoral study, so DSM tu memang saya baca lah semua sebab exam and so on. So kalau if you go thoroughly, what inside DSM, Contoh ada salah satu disorder yang dia sebut di kalangan orang Asia, which is amok. So the term is amok lah. Even dalam DSM tu amok, they use amok lah kataan Indonesian Malaysia ni. Amok. Jadi kita lihat pun ada amok ada kat situ. Maknanya dia macam it seems that according to DSM lah, it doesn't happen kat tempat luar lah dekat tu. Tapi kalau kita lihat macam contoh, sedangkan saya rasa kalau kita tengok kan berita, katalah di Amerika agak biasa jugalah kita dengar school shooting, college shooting tu mengamuk juga. Cuma kalau dekat Malaysia ni mengamuk mungkin pakai parang. Saya tak pastilah kalau Indonesia dulu dekat Malaysia pakai parang. Ada orang ni, dia adalah seorang anak muda, dia ni ada gangguan mental, dia telah penggal bapa dia dan mak dia. Kemudian dia ambil kepala mak dia ke bapak dia. Saya tak berapa ingat ni berita beberapa tahun lepas dia ambil. And then he put the head in the bag. Kemudian he ride a train. Orang tak tahu pun. Mungkin dia letak dalam plastik kan. To that extent jadi maknanya dia tak sedar pun. I believe that dia tak sedar lah what he was doing So jadi mereka pun ada juga amok tu. Tapi dalam DSM tu tak berubah lagi. Salah satu lagi disorder yang saya masih ingat is jet lag. Jet lag ni contoh kan, kita travel, tak payah jauh, katalah kita travel to Australia, sikit je beza masa dia. So kita pun dah tak boleh lah beza malam siang kan, kita dah boleh macam tu. Kita pergi, let's say we travel to Saudi Arabia to perform our umrah or hajj, pun macam tu, jet lag, beza sikit je. Kalau kita pergi Canada ataupun United States, 13 to 15 hours different. Itu lagi dahsyat kita punya jet lag. So that jet lag also is also mentioned in DSM. Is considered disorder. Sebab itulah kan sebab itu saya nak ceritakan, in fact macam American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy in the past, they refused to use that DSM. Why? Because they don't believe that, because if you refer to that DSM, ini di Amerika semua orang memang ada sedikit isu psikiatri. Memang kita pun ada, saya pun ada, anda ada, semua ada semua kita ada, mesti ada punya, betul tak? Mesti ada punya. Okay. Semua orang akan, in fact William Glazer, one of the therapists yang dah meninggal dunia lah, he's well known with his idea of reality therapy. Dia kata that he is a psychiatrist, he was a psychiatrist. He said that if you use DSM ni, semua kita, all of us will end up in psychiatric hospital. Betul juga ayat dia tu. Betul juga. I'm not saying that we should abandon DSM. Tapi what I'm going to highlight today is we have to extra careful in using DSM, in classifying disorder. Sebab di dalam budaya kita ni ada perkara yang mungkin dia dipengaruhi oleh budaya. So budaya ni sangat susah lah untuk diterjemahkan. Macam saya bagi contoh katalah kan orang akan macam kita kan, we are collectivist society. So jadi kalau kita bercakap sama-sama kita ni, all of you and me, kalau kita cakap one of us is having mental illness, kita mungkin tak ada, we don't look down at that particular person. However, kalau kita cakap lah, kata let's say we have a family gathering kan, dah lama kita tak ada family gathering kan due to pandemic, betul tak? So kat Malaysia ni saya percayalah hari raya tahun ni akan besar-besaran sebab dah 2 tahun kami tak beraya besar-besaran. So saya, kalau dalam in your family gathering and suddenly you admit, actually I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder recently by a psychiatrist daripada mana, hospital Kuala Lumpur. So what will be the reaction of your family member? So kita nampak kan benda tu kan, what is bipolar disorder? Kan? So orang mungkin tak nak jauh-jauh daripada you dan seumpamanya, macam tu lah. Okay. Kemudian psychological kalau kita panggil, nampak tak, kalau kita panggil psychological disorder, dia cantik sikit dah. Bila cakap mental ni dia nampak, term pun ni jadi it's up to you lah nak guna yang mana. Saya cuma I'm just sharing is defined as any psychological dysfunction associated with distress or impairment in functioning that is not typically or culturally expected. Okay. Kemudian so jadi kalau abnormality ni dia macam ada lah, dia ada macam statistical approach define behavior as abnormal because its occurrence is rare or infrequent. Problem, not all rare behavior is abnormal because if we want to define from cultural perspective memang susah. Contoh di Malaysia saya tengok sangat popular instrumen DAS. Anda semua psikologis, anda tahu DAS, tahu kan DAS kan? Semua orang ambil DAS tu. Bila ambil DAS tu, let's say kan, budak-budak lah, budak-budak kita ambil exam, ambil test DAS, then dia tengah stress masa exam and dia took DAS lepas tu dia jumpa, saya sekarang tengah teruk ni, stress ni, stress saya teruk, my stress level. Tapi kalau kita nak classify seorang as having gangguan psikologi, dia kena reliable contoh kita mungkin ambil sekali lagi dalam berapa lama kan, sebab of course kalau kita akan stres pada waktu-waktu tertentu yang macam contoh katalah at the end of January masa tu bila saya dapati one of my daughter was positive with COVID so saya pun masa tu my reaction was terkejut semua kan, what should I do and then where should I go, sebab saya tak pernah check pun kat Malaysia ni kat mana nak buat kalau you positif. Bila anak sendiri baru saya sibuk nak cari maklumat so we were in hurry to find info and then we call orang sana orang sini, stres. Kalau saya ambil DAS masa tu, saya percaya skornya sangatlah menunjukkan saya stres and then I need to be treated. Okay, jadi budak-budak yang tak faham nak gunakan DAS ni, dia guna sebab dia in a public domain so dia boleh diguna. So jadi mereka pun fikir mereka ada gangguan and then mereka pun menggunakan tu. In fact ada staff pekerja some employees use DAS and then they see their employer, dia bagi tahu saya nak cuti kerana ni. Sampai macam tu sekali. So jadi maknanya susah sebenarnya kita nak tengok tu macam mana susah kita nak determine so whether an individual's behavior is associated with impairment of inefficiency, deviance or selective distress. Bila kita nak guna social norm social norm, the problem is using social norms, but social norm are very different. For instance, people who live in Kuala Lumpur and then people who live in Utara Malaysia, Northern Malaysia such as Kedah so those who live in Kedah they have a very more peaceful environment. They have more peaceful environment. Whereas those who live in Kuala Lumpur ni kan, mereka hidup terkejar-kejar due to traffic jam like Jakarta lah. I was in Jakarta 10 years ago lama. Lama dah saya tak pergi Konon nak pergi, tiba-tiba dah pandemik So that will create more tension. So if we compare those, maknanya the culture, even though all of you are Indonesian for instance, those who live in rural area maybe they have having more peaceful life compared to those who live in Jakarta. Sebab itulah orang Kuala Lumpur contohnya, kalau mereka balik ke kampung, dia tak sabar bila tengok pemandu bawa slow-slow ni. Sebab dia orang dah biasa nak kejar-kejar. Jadi bila dia tengok pemandu, dia mula nak maki-maki. Tu yang jadi road bully tu. Macam tu lah. Sedangkan orang di kampung, they have nothing nak kejar. So dia buat pun slow and steady kan. Orang kat bandar ni dia cuma nak laju-laju. Macam tu lah. Jadi social norm ni bukan saja according to ethnicity tapi juga kadang-kadang tempat kediaman kita So depression, saya tak nak ajar lah depression ni apa kan. I'm not going to go slide by slide lah. So maknanya this is the most common mental disorder. So roughly from 15 to 21% we experience depression at some time in our life. Tapi the more we learn about mental health, mental disorder, we can conclude that it is not the issue actually. It is how you manage that. Macam mana you nak manage? Betul tak? Kalau you boleh manage, I got one student, saya nak ceritakan. One former student, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Dia diagnosed with breast cancer tahap 1. So, doktor pun nasihat untuk buat operation. So, buat operation, on the day of operation, doktor buat biopsi, bla bla bla. And then after the operation, the doctor told her, actually it is not stage 1, it is stage 2. Okay, so dia pun teruslah, she was under treatment, blah blah blah, and then she became healthier, and then over the years, suddenly she feels, dia punya tulang belakang sakit. She went to the doctor again. Doktor dapati ada cancer cell kat belakang dia. And then doktor pun, because the cancer started in breast, walaupun dia macam dah baik, tapi dia panggil stage 4 because it is in other organ. So dia pun dirawat lah. So I text her and I said I want to meet with her. So we met in a mall. This is 2020. So saya pun jumpa dia, kami makan sama, and then dia cerita lah what was going on. Dia kata doktor saya akan doktor dah prescribe saya, doktor akan buat satu rawatan, dia kata kemudian adalah ubat ni akan hanya efektif if your female hormone is not active. Okay. Dan dia ni, she was still young, early 30s. Of course, female hormone dia masih aktif. Dia bukannya wanita in the menopause. So, doktor kata in order to make sure that the medication is effective, satu cara is for her, untuk menjalani pembedahan buang uterus. Untuk dapat makan ubat tu. So dia agree to the doctor, doctor suggestion. Dia agree tau, dia agree. Saya dengar je, I just listen, I didn't comment. Dia kata, orang bertanya saya, macam mana you belum berkahwin, and then macam ni you nak ada anak. And then dia kata, doktor, saya mahu dirawat. Saya tak ada perancangan nak berkahwin kerana saya tak ada boyfriend pun, dia kata. Saya tak ada calon. So saya hanya boleh memikirkan apa yang saya boleh buat sekarang. Saya tengok je budak ni, I just look at her, saya kata kan, patutnya saya yang I was supposed to console her, tapi kan listening to this my former student, saya rasa kan sangat, saya sedih bukan sebab dia sakit. Saya sedih sebab betapa kuatnya dia ni, saya yang tengok dia yang tak tahan. So orang lain mungkin depression, tak nak jumpa orang semua kan, dia tak. So jadi maknanya you see, it is how we manage that. So sangat tinggi lah dia punya resilience, sangatlah tinggi. Okay. Ni pun bipolar ni anda belajar dah semua ni kan. Jadi saya tak nak lah pun ajar pun benda ni. So anxiety disorder sebelum ini pun boleh menyebabkan an intense and paralyzing sense of fear of or a sustained pattern of worrying when there is no real danger or threat. Ini ramai yang berlalui. Contoh di awal tahun, katalah anda pekerja, let's say you are an employee in an organisation or university or institution. So we are, preparing for our KPI, for instance, key performance indicator. So we are afraid that we cannot fulfill that criteria. Why? Because there will be no salary increment contohnya. Kita punya ketakutan tu kadang-kadang seolah-olah kita nak mati esok. Itu punya ketakutan. So this is called neurotic anxiety. This happen for many people actually. Kita tak sedar benda ni. Neurotic anxiety. Okay, ini pun saya tak ada ni. So skizofrenia ni saya nak sebut sikit, bukan saya nak ajar pasal skizofrenia, tapi how we, let's say one of our family member is diagnosed with schizophrenia. I remember one of my friend, she told me that her husband was diagnosed with this kind of mental illness, psychological disorder. Tapi saya cakap dengan dia, saya kata, saya tengok your husband ni okay, actually a very loving husband, he can function well. Dia kata yes, betul, tetapi my husband has to take medication every night. And then in order to make sure that he take the medication every night, he need the support system. Sebab memang pun malas sikit lah ambil ubat ni kan, terlupa je kan. Macam saya sekarang, saya adalah ambil ubat untuk merawat saya punya carpal tunnel. Macam kalau tangan kita kebas kan, doktor bagi tempoh 30 hari pun kadang terlupa kan. Biasalah kita manusia ni kan, kita lupa kadang-kadang. So jadi tapi lupa tu tak apa, sebab dia macam ubat tu dia cuma ubat kan, terlupa sehari okey lagi lah kan. So jadi this husband dia kata dia kena ambil that medication prescribed by the psychiatrist every night ke macam tu, every day. So she or the parents need to make sure that this man take the medication. So parent dia tiap-tiap malam akan call dia, tanya dia. Contoh let's say lah nama dia Ali kan. Ali dah makan belum? Dah makan ubat belum? sebab dan isteri pula kena letakkan pil tu dekat dia, okay, sebab dia kena ambil ni daripada dulu, daripada dia bujang. Tengok tu. So dia kata pernah suami dia ni refuse to take the medication about a week ke macam tu kot. So he become violent. So maknanya what we can learn lah from her story ialah it can be treated, tapi we need support system. Kalau support system tak bagus, memang dia tak ni lah. Tapi kita balik pula kepada culture. That's why culture and mental health. Itu kawan saya ni, she is educated. Okay. Dia educated. Dia akan pastikan suami dia ni dan dia bawa suami dia pergi treatment when the times come, for the appointment when the times come. Tapi out there macam saya sebut tadi, the man who killed his parent and then dia bawa kepala bapak dia dalam bag and then he was riding a train. Dia tak tahu. He was not an addict pun. Dia memang ada masalah skizofrenia. Bila dibawa ke court lah untuk didakwa lah. Jadi doktor testify lah dia ada skizofrenia. So tapi tidak dirawat dengan betul. Sebab kalau you diabetes, nampak ada kesan orang diabetes ni ada kadang-kadang dia kurus sangat, kadang-kadang macam mana dia mungkin kena insulin kan, kena macam tu kan, ataupun katalah you ada, kalau orang kanser orang nampak, jadi orang akan ingatkan. Kalau kita contoh patah kaki kan, doktor simen ke apa kan, jadi nampak. Tapi mental illness ni tak nampak pun, you normal je, elok je, cantik je, pakai tudung elok je. Betul ke you sakit? Itulah masalah dia. Kenapa cakap-cakap? Satu lagi isu. Dia halusinasi kan. Dia cakap-cakap seorang sebab dia rasa dia bercakap dengan orang kan. Nanti akan ada pula kan ni some figures yang kata ini semua gangguan syaitan. Kita tak nafikan, we don't deny, maybe in some cases ada gangguan syaitan tu kita tak nafikan. Tapi there are many cases yang bukan gangguan syaitan tapi memang skizofrenia. So usually kalau saya tanya medical doctor, macam ni you nak pastikan this is psychological disorder or memang gangguan syaitan, gangguan jin ke? So medical doctor kata biasanya bila kita dah rawat semua tapi tak dapat juga rawatan, tak dapat, dia tidak bertindak balas, then maybe we will suggest the patient lah untuk jumpa pakar rawatan Islam contohnya. Dia kata. Tapi maknanya we have to rule out lah any medical condition first. Itulah jadi itulah masalah dia kan dalam kita punya culture kan. Saya percaya Indonesia pun lebih kurang je dengan Malaysia dari sudut ini kan. Dari sudut ini kita ni in fact bukan nak kata orang yang ada schizophrenic patient pun, tapi dekat Malaysia ni pun ada, saya tak pasti kat Indonesia ada ke tak, nanti boleh kongsi. Orang yang sakit kanser pun dituduh kena gangguan syaitan. And then the patient doesn't get the proper treatment and then she died due to cancer. Of course lah, all of us will die. Tapi before we die, we have to get the proper treatment. Okay. So benda-benda macam ni lah. Macam kami ada student ni kita tak tahu kan bila dia masuk kan. Bila kita buat test tu masa tu mungkin dia okey. Sekali dia dah masuk tu baru kita tahu dia ada depressive episode. So jadi dia ni pernah mencederakan diri tau. Self harm. Itulah dia Okay. Kalau ini data dekat barat ni, dekat Malaysia ni susah nak dapat data. Saya cuba cari data kat Indonesia. Kat Malaysia pun susah. Kat Indonesia lagi lah saya tak tahu apa nama department kan. Jadi saya jumpa tapi sumber tak berapa reliable, saya tak berani ambil. Saya takut salah kan. So jadi ni contoh kita tengok maknanya 1 in 100 kalau dekat barat macam tu. Tapi kalau kita lihat ni, kita kata mungkin kat Malaysia pun tinggi, kat Indonesia pun tinggi sebab there are many people who left undiagnosed. Undiagnosed. Why? Sebab dia fikir kena gangguan. Contohnya kan. Sebab macam kita tengok COVID cases kan. Kalau you all semua masih ingat kan, masa mula-mula COVID ni keluar 2020. 2020 kan. Kalau you masih ingat kan, North Korea kata no cases in North Korea. It's very maybe it could be possible or impossible, saya tak pasti, tapi kalau you tak check, you memang tak tahu pun. Of course lah jadi 0 cases. Betul tak? Macam tu lah. So jadi kalau kita macam contoh kan data perceraian, divorce rate. Divorce rate in Malaysia baru ni adalah dia orang kata in every hour ada berapa perceraian berlaku. This is based on court punya nombor lah. In every hour macam ni perceraian berlaku. So bila reporter, when the reporter reported that in the mainstream media, dia akan kata this is not healthy because divorce rate is too high among Malaysian population contohnya. Okay, itu pasal divorce tetapi dia kata cuba kita bayangkan our parents generation, why the divorce rate was low. Okay, orang cuba sebab dia kata orang-orang dulu mungkin mereka sangat cuba bertolak ansur. Tapi from cultural perspective, let's say we do the study, unfortunately kita tak boleh nak study orang yang dah meninggal. We can only study current population. Kemungkinan juga kan, kita tengok the culture. Kalau saya masih ingat lah the time when I grew up, and I compare it with the time when my children grow up now. Okay, so when the time when I grew up, it was in the 70s, 80s. The outside pressure sangatlah terhad. Dan tidak ada banding membanding, semua tak ada. So the pressure is very low. So I grew up in a family yang biasa-biasa sangat. Both parents ni dia bekerja kebun, mak ayah saya. Tapi saya tak ada, I didn't feel inferior of that. Saya tak rasa inferior. Sebab kawan-kawan saya yang paling kaya ialah anak guru. Tu je. Tak ada yang kaya-kaya lagi pada tu. Anak doktor pun tak ada. Kami tinggal kat pekan kecil je. So jadi, dan tidak ada apa yang dia pakai sama dengan apa yang saya pakai. Jadi tidak ada persaingan. When competition is high, stress is higher. Okay. So I cannot compare my time with my children time. So kita tengok culture tu juga. Jadi orang dulu, ibu-ibu kan, ibu-ibu kalau di Indonesia mungkin puan kan, kalau di Malaysia ni mothers lah the mothers the mothers in the past time, for instance my late mother she was a housewife. My late mother was a housewife. Most mothers at that time were housewife. Most, kebanyakan. Sangat jarang yang, kalau ada pun yang kerja jadi cikgu je tau. Kalau zaman saya tu saya jumpa tempat saya tu, cikgu, nurse, dua tu je. Okay, jadi tu dua. Jadi mak saya, I know my mother, dia tak akan compare apa dia ada. Dia tak akan compare barang kemas dia sebab orang lain sama je. Betul tak? Tapi hari ni, today's generation, as young as maybe preschool, macam baru-baru ni viral kat Malaysia tentang isu budak sekolah pun pakai branded. Tapi itulah, saya beli kat Shopee je, beg sekolah anak saya murah pun kan. So jadi benda-benda macam tu dia akan create tension. Jadi kita lihat it is the culture yang sebenarnya akan banyak menyumbang. So in order to understand why people suffer from psychological disorder, we need to understand the culture. Unfortunately, we cannot just lump sum, okay, Jakarta's culture is like this. Tak boleh. Kita kena fokus kat individu tu. Individu tu sendiri. Baru boleh. Macam kalau kat Malaysia ni, the low income group is called B40 group. B40 maknanya below 40. Dia ada tetapkanlah pendapatan tu berapa. So B40 group. So the B40 group ni dah jadi satu, dia panggil apa? Is replace the term of low SSE, low status socioeconomic. So mereka ni ada macam stigma lah, seolah-olah minta bantuan kerajaan, macam-macam. So jadi kalau mereka, contohnya kan, jadi orang-orang yang B40 katalah, kalau kita ingat kan, kita belajar Maslow hierarchy tu kan, walaupun teori dah lama, tapi saya setuju apa yang Maslow cakap tu. Your basic need ni memang nak makan dulu, betul tak? You kena cukup makan, baru you boleh pergi seterusnya. Kalau you tak cukup makan, you nak pergi rawat mental illness, nak buat apa? Betul tak? Sebab itu bagi mereka yang B40 or the low socio-economic status population, kalau dia sakit teruk pun dia akan pilih untuk makan dulu berbanding dengan untuk pergi rawat. Macam di India pun masa mula COVID tu, walaupun government of India cuba untuk buat lockdown lah konon-kononnya kan, so orang langgar je because apa? Kalau if they stay at home, there will be no food. Ini pun berlaku kat Malaysia. Saya percaya berlaku juga kat Indonesia. Berlaku juga kat negara maju. Kalau you stay at home, tak boleh. Yang selamat hanyalah orang yang memang selamat kerana bergaji di jalan. Tapi ramai orang tak boleh. They have to go out. They have to work in order to get the food. Okay. So jadi kita memang kena faham culture tu. Sebab itu saya kata, I always remind my student, understanding your client, the people that you have from their cultural perspective tu sangat penting. Sangat penting. Dalam isu apa pun yang menyebabkan gangguan kepada kesihatan psikologi. Contoh, bila contoh kan, my student are doing their training kan di tahun akhir, so they got a client tapi daripada Bangladesh tau, bukan daripada Malaysia. Bangladeshi student lah, kat Malaysia ni kan ramai kan, Bangladeshi student kan, Indian student from India. So it is quite susah kalau nak faham mereka punya budaya. Tapi macam itulah maknanya mental health professional like us, we have to understand them from their cultural perspective. So what is considered mental illness, schizophrenia dalam DSM tu, mungkin setengahnya benda tu tak tepat sangat according to our cultures. Mungkin tak tepat sangat lah. Sebab itulah juga contoh the lesbian, being homosexual is not considered a form of psychological disorders according to DSM. They have taken it out masa DSM-4, DSM-3 ada lagi kan. Tapi dekat negara macam kita kan, we are collectively society, we are Muslim dominated population kan, kita masih harap lagi benda tu, kita tak boleh nak terima benda tu. Betul tak? Kita tak boleh nak terima. Saya hari tu ada juga baca satu berita di Indonesia artis. Saya tak kenal sangat artis Artis Malaysia pun saya tak kenal. Tak usah dengan artis Indonesia, artis Malaysia pun saya tak kenal. Zaman tahun saya umur 20-an saya kenal lah. Sekarang saya dah masuk 50, saya tak kenal dah artis. So saya dah baca seorang artis mungkin lah, kalau saya salah, correct me if I'm wrong. Di Indonesia yang dah bertukar jantina and then dia pesan kalau dia meninggal dia dibumikan sebagai wanita. Betul tak? Kan? Itulah. Jadi benda tu, tapi saya rasa di Indonesia ni they are quite diplomatic. Kalau kat Malaysia ni sampai jadi pelarian mereka yang macam tu. Contoh macam kalau you pernah dengar Sajat kan, dah lari ke Australia. So dia ni antara ikon lah dalam transgender. Okay, jadi itulah, jadi maknanya di barat macam ni, tapi sebab they don't discriminate people, schizophrenic patient. They don't discriminate. Tapi tempat kita dia discriminate. Masa saya membesar dulu, kalau orang yang ada macam gangguan mental, kita panggil orang gila kat kampung. You bayangkan orang gila. Ada keluarga yang dia ikat kaki anak dia pasung kan, ikat kat kayu macam tu kan. Aduh, sekarang saya tak pastilah kalau ada lagi kan. So jadi culture and psychopathology are inseparable. Abnormal behavior can be understood within the cultural context in which they occur. Itulah. Jadi culture ni memang is very very subjective. It is very subjective. Sebab itulah macam kita lihat kan. Contoh kan, let's say kita, umur kita 18 tahun. Let's say all of us are 18 years old kan. Katalah kan, imagine that we are 18 years old. And then we live in Canada or Australia or even United Kingdom, those western orang putih punya negara kan. And then by the age of 18 kan, we still live with our parents. Kita masuk, we go to college but we choose to live with parents. Okay. So we will be classified as orang yang macam mana? Maknanya kita tidak develop according to our developmental stage. Kan? We don't develop according to our developmental stage. Tapi kalau di sini anak-anak kita, mereka kalau contoh kan, dia pergi universiti dekat dengan rumah, why not they live with us? So that can save the rental, betul tak? That can save the transportation. It is considered okay, acceptable in our culture. And it is very, dia sangat unacceptable lah in white culture. Sangat tidak acceptable. Sebab itu kita kata be careful lah. Culture ni is anything that you want to have, anything that you want to any cases that you have, in mental health issues, you need to consider culture. Okay. Okay. So basic psychological disorders are present in all cultures. Culture, however, play a role in determining the exact behavioral and contextual manifestation. Okay. Contoh kan, kalau ada orang Melayu pepatah dia dia panggil apa? Kalau you tak nak bercampur dengan orang, dia panggil kera sumbang. Maknanya macam it's like a monkey that want to isolate themselves lah. Monkey usually they will move in group kan. They will move in group, monkey. So kalau you tak nak bercampur, you macam kera sumbang seorang-seorang je. Okay. So jadi apa yang berlaku ialah contoh, let's say you are married. You berkahwin kan. Mas Tiara bujang lagi ke single? Nampak muda lagi tu.
Taken,
single.
Prof.
Memanglah nampak muda.
I'm already married. Sorry.
You are already married?
Afif or who else? Mas Dani, ya. Nadira or the others.
Jadi kalau if you are okay, let's say if you are married, for instance, Afif, you are married, right? Okay, bila you berkahwin, you ada isteri, tapi you also have to include your interaction with your in-laws, whether you like it or not. That is our culture. You like it or not, that is not an issue. The issue is you have to accept them as your family, part of your family. If you refuse, memang rumah tangga you mungkin akan ada masalah sikit. Kan? Okay. Sebab kita punya culture is apa dia? We are collectivist culture. It's very important for the culture to apa dia? To maintain the harmonious relationship. Whereas harmonious relationship is defined in Western culture as you mesti tegakkan hak you. So if you are married, you are married. Okay, your husband is your legal guardian. So itu kalau you Google, lepas-lepas ni lain, jangan Google sekarang. You Google Terry Schiavo case. That Terry Schiavo case, kalau kita lihat from psychological perspective, macam mana peranan parent and husband. Husband is legal guardian. So the husband bring the case to the court. Dia nak judge benarkan untuk tamatkan, to stop the feeding tube. Sebab Terry Schiavo ni dia koma for many years sebab dia ni ada dia ambil ubat untuk kurus ni. Dia tak gemuk tapi biasalah dia nak cantik kan so dia dapat serangan stroke lah saya rasa kan. So her brain ni memang almost damaged, dah tak boleh dah, tapi dia still live, she was still living, she depend on feeding tube. So mak ayah dia tak bagi. Mak ayah dia kata dia masih boleh respon, dia tak bagi. Tapi of course from American justice perspective, the husband is the legal guardian. So husband menang lah. Husband menang and then dia meninggal. Lepas 14 hari the feeding tube was removed. And then lepas 14 hari dia meninggal, jadi suami dia decided to cremate. Dia buat cremated. So abu dia ni dibawa ke tempat lahir dia lah. The parent had no say. Tak ada apa-apa, tak boleh buat apa. Tak tahu pun kat mana abu tu diletakkan, tahu? Kita rasa kejam betul kita punya budaya kan? Wow, kejam. Sangat kejam. Ibu bapa ni yang besarkan budak ni daripada kecil ni, suddenly you kahwin, seolah you buat keputusan sendiri. Memang kejam. Kita tengok daripada collectivist culture. But from their culture, the interpretation is different. Sebab itulah let's say we work in a culture that is totally different than our culture. We are struggling actually to understand the culture. Kita akan struggle. Macam contoh kan, saya dibesarkan dalam keluarga yang normal, intact family. So katalah saya ada klien, a woman who is abused, kena dera. And then after the exploration, I found that this woman kan, dia dah kena dera physically, sexually, mentally, semua. Tapi she refused to file a report. Sebab apa? Dia takut nanti dia tak ada suami. Okay. Kalau saya cuba faham daripada let's say I become a selfish, I want to be very selfish. So I decided, kenapalah you kan jadi perempuan dah kena dera pun you tak nak ni, right? Sebab saya faham from my perspective. From her perspective, itu dah cerita lain, itulah yang berlaku banyak. Sebab itu women of domestic violence ni memang banyak lah, dekat Malaysia pun banyak. Saya percaya kat mana negara pun benda ni berlaku. Okay, ni saya tak ni lah. So jadi kalau kita lihat macam cross cultural study of depression, dah ada WHO conducted the study on cross cultural studies on depression. So dia lihat 76% reported cross culturally constant symptom sadness, joylessness, anxiety. Bendanya sama. Tapi instrument yang kita guna, the instrument that we use to measure depression, we need to be very careful in using that instrument. Unfortunately, our psychologists, regardless Malaysia or Indonesia, we are not really active in developing our own instrument lah compared to Western researchers. Betul tak? We develop some, but we are not really active lah. So we depend on their instrument and then we translated it and then we did the reliability, blah, 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 validity semua tu. Tetapi the fact remain that the original instrument were developed in white culture, were tested on majority Western population who are white. That is the fact remain. So kalau kita nak culturally sensitive instrument, we have to develop from the ground, daripada bawah. Mungkin kita boleh guna grounded theory ke, you nak guna apa pun tak kisahlah, tapi maknanya you need to develop it from the basic. Dan it is a very long journey, tapi tak susah sangat sebenarnya. Tapi orang tak minat ke buat, saya pun tak pasti. And then usually the grant sponsor ni, yang memberi grant ni tak nak sponsor buat benda-benda macam ni. Saya pernah dapat sekali untuk develop satu instrument to study, to measure family functioning from Malaysian perspective. Okay, pernah dapat sekali. So of course it take about 3 years lah, sebab it is not a full time job kan. About 3 years to complete the study semualah. Boleh buat sebenarnya. Sebab itu saya dapati memang masalah lah bila kita pakai je instrumen mereka and then kita akan ada misinterpretation. Okay, some cultural group less likely to report extreme feeling or worthlessness and guilt related symptom. Kerana apa? Sebab kadang-kadang kita nak cakap kita sedih pun serba salah. Kalau contoh kan, kalau kita kat Malaysia, contohnya dekat Indonesia kan, kalau kita ada masalah yang menyebabkan kita sedih sangat, kita tak nak cerita dengan orang sebab nanti orang akan kata, alah macam tu pun nak sedih. Kan, sebab dia adalah okay, ini contoh somatization. Okay, ni saya sebut tadi. Nampak tu Malaysia, Filipina, Thailand, ada amok. Sedangkan kenapa buat dekat sini je, part of Asia. Dekat sana pun ada school shooting kan, they have school shooting every now and then. Saya rasa amok ni dah very rare to happen kan, kat Indonesia or Malaysia ni dah jarang berlaku dah. So the Witico or Wendigo, possession by an evil spirit, a man-eating monster contohnya, can produce cannibalistic behavior. Of course lah, dia dah panggil je. Ini biasanya those who are yang dia banyak berhubung dengan alam, dia percaya dengan alam. Kadang-kadang dia macam ni lah. Ini dia macam ni. Okay, so kalau kita lihat pasal macam anorexia kan dia banyak dekat Western sebab body image is very important. Tapi hari ni ada juga tahu kat Malaysia ni, saya beritahu anda, saya tak pasti kat Indonesia, kat Malaysia ni ramai orang, mereka asaskan ramai dah banyak is available in the internet. You can buy the slimming product. Whether it is safe or not tu saya tak pastilah. Tapi inilah sebab orang nak, body image is very important. Kalau saya nak bandingkan, let's say I want to compare when I was 20s, tak ada isu ni sebab apa? So maksud saya kira that is back to eating habit of Malaysian population. The eating habit of Malaysian population when I was 20 for instance kan, dia simple je. Tapi hari ni segala jenis makanan lah orang di sini dia makan. Orang Malaysia ni dia boleh They adaptable to any kind of food. Korean lah, Jepun lah, Indonesian. Kerepek dulu saya jumpa dekat Bandung kan, kerepek yang ada strawberry ke apa kan. Sekarang kat Malaysia pun dah ada Dulu kat orang Malaysia dulu tak kreatif pun. Dia makan kerepek pisang je Sekarang dah ada kerepek pisang sira tu ada dah So jadi Arabic food, what else? Semua ada. So orang pun try semua. The western food in the past mahal untuk orang kaya. Tapi hari ni dekat gerai tu jalan pun ada. So benda-benda macam tu menyebabkan of course your body gain weight. Bila your body gain weight, you nak acceptable body image. When you want an acceptable body image, you nak cara yang mudah. Jaga makan tak nak. Saya nak kurus cepat. Saya makan apa pun tapi saya kurus je. Sebenarnya dia ada macam-macam. Sebenarnya kalau kita, let's say we want to treat this patient from psychological perspective, actually it's not the anorexia itself, tapi maknanya the root cause is the body image. Lagi the root cause ialah apa dia? The eating habit. Sebenarnya. Sebab itu kalau kita katalah, let's say we work in clinical setting, kita mungkin perlukan bantuan dietitian untuk bantu patient ni sebenarnya. Kita tak boleh bekerja sendiri. Okay. Ni contoh kan. Ini contoh semula DSM ni semua kan. DSM yang baru, DSM 5 tu. TR claims to acknowledge the influence of culture. They claim. Saya tak tahu dia test tak dekat kita punya culture. Okay. So jadi ini adalah isu tentang ni DSM ni. Dia sebenarnya is not culturally sensitive lah sebenarnya. Okay. Ada juga yang Europe punya kan, ICD ni kan, ICD tu kan ICD. Chinese buat juga Chinese Classification of Mental Disorder has culture specific features. I think it is about time for us Indonesia, Malaysia, tak boleh buat Malaysia Indonesia join, tak boleh. Sebab walaupun kita macam serumpun tapi each culture ni memang akan ada perbezaan. In fact kalau you buat dekat Indonesia pun, Indonesia ni besar, betul tak? Besar. Kalau you pergi Malaysia ni kecil, you pergi dekat Peninsula of Malaysia, you boleh lawat, kecil je Malaysia ni. Kalau you pergi, let's say the Borneo parts, which is Sabah dan Sarawak, boleh. Itu lagi besar pun daripada Peninsula. Tapi kalau Indonesia nak pergi, macam saya tak pernah sampai Sulawesi tu, pulau-pulau tu saya tak pernah sampai. Saya pernah sampai kat Bandung dan Jakarta je. Tak pernah tempat lain. Ni mungkin kena pergilah ni, Universiti Airlangga ni, satu hari kelak. Kena pergi ni So jadi tapi baru satu pulau. Pulau-pulau lain tu, Pulau Sumatera contohnya kan. Teringin juga saya nak pergi. Tak ada lagi rezeki nak pergi. So, mereka kan lain-lain semuanya. Sebab itulah, walau macam mana, regardless of any, manual that you use, you refer to, you need to consider culture. Sebab itulah, untuk menjadi contoh counselor, psikologis, saya akan kata the curriculum must include multicultural course. Mesti. Multicultural course. Sebab the multicultural issue, the culture is not about ethnicity. Kalau macam contoh, kita tak boleh kata Cina, bangsa Melayu ke India. Itu besar. Kita harus tengok the culture of our client. The culture of our client. Okay. Macam sebab itulah dululah masa ni zaman saya student dah lama ni 2005 ke 2004. Lama sangat dah saya masa zaman saya muda kan. When I was taking multicultural counselling class it was in the United States masa tu. So we were assigned each of us. Is it itulah kena ingat each of us were assigned to study one particular culture, which is totally different than our original culture. Macam contohnya, saya telah I was assigned to study African American culture. Sebab kalau tidak, saya cuma tegur-tegur kawan-kawan berbual, but I don't really understand their culture. So what you need to do is you interview them, or you can stay with them 2 days ke, ataupun seminggu, ataupun you berbual dengan ahli keluarga, you go to their festival, untuk you faham benda tu. Saya fikirkan kan contoh kan, bila saya balik Malaysia, saya fikir, saya faham lah budaya orang Melayu. Saya ni Melayu tapi saya Melayu keturunan Jawa. Okay, my late parents, they can speak Javanese language. They could speak Javanese language. I can understand Javanese language, saya boleh faham tapi mak saya ada sebut Jawa, bahasa Jawa ada dua, bahasa Jawa kasar, Jawa halus. Yang mak saya cakap tu Jawa kasar, dia cakap lah. I can understand that Javanese language, but I cannot speak. I cannot speak Javanese. Tak boleh, saya tak boleh bercakap. Even my grandmother, when she communicated with us, she spoke Japanese. Almost can understand, tapi tak boleh cakap. Pelik juga kan So okay, apa yang saya nak highlight ialah seorang rakan saya in other universities she taught multicultural counseling class. So she assigned students into she divided students into groups, and then each group has to study one culture in Malaysia. Pilih, tapi tak boleh big culture. You cannot study Chinese, Malay, Indian, tak boleh. So they have to find out kecil-kecil punya culture. Contoh for instance, let's say Javanese culture. They have to study Banjar kan, Banjar. Itu biasa orang Banjar daripada mana? Daripada Indonesia juga asal dia kan, Banjar. Specific, very specific. So when I went to the and then the class hall of a multicultural festival. So I attended the festival, and then I realized that even though I'm Malaysian, I do not know many cultures that exist in Malaysia. Nampak tak macam tu? Same thing goes to you. Sebab Indonesia ni kadang-kadang saya when in my free time kan, saya buka juga Indonesia punya website pasal pulau-pulau yang saya tak pernah pergi, Sulawesi, what are their cultures. So kadang-kadang yang saya jumpa ni Indonesian di sini. Di Malaysia ni lah. Itu pun I cannot lump sum them. They are from different parts of Indonesia kan. Okay, tu dia. Okay, dah 92 minit So jadi maknanya kita kena as we academician, nanti student you become a practitioners, you also have, this is also your responsibility together with your of course professors to examine socio-cultural norm and healthy adjustment and culturally based definition of abnormality. Kena lihat. So macam contoh our culture which is which encourage us to maintain harmonious relationship. What are the things that we need to make some adjustment contohnya okay. So that's why over pathologizing clinician incorrectly judge the client behavior as pathological when in fact they are normal in the individual culture. See? And under pathologizing a clinician explain the client behavior as cultural when in fact it is an abnormal system. Ni selalu berlaku. Yang bawah ni berlaku kat kita. Selalu. Selalu berlaku kat kita. Alah tak ada apalah kan. Okay. Dia diam tu okey lah. Okay lah. Macam tu lah. Kita under pathologizing clinician. Okay. Whereas orang barat they tend to be yang atas, kita tend to be yang the second one. Okay. Ini cerita di barat sebab dia orang ada banyak study, kita tak banyak study ni Okay. So kalau kita tengok African American ni dia in term of nombor dia orang lagi ramai sebenarnya. Tapi they are considered minority. Saya pun tak tahu kenapa. So they are more often being diagnosed with schizophrenia than European orang kulit putih kan. Sebab mungkin juga isu maknanya kebanyakan psikologis are white. Orang putih. Kebanyakan psikologis orang putih. Okay. Macam kat Malaysia lah, kebanyakan psikologis, counselors kat bandar. They are considered paling-paling pun middle income group. Jadi dia mungkin tak berapa faham lah low income group. So due to SES sama lah macam saya sebut tadi kan. Okay. Ini kalau study dekat Asia tapi ni bukan kita lah. Tengok Korean American had higher, kalau di US orang-orang Asian ni Korean yang paling tinggi, higher rate of depression followed by Filipino, Japanese. Ini sebab orang-orang Asian yang paling ramai kat sana lah. Indonesian, Malaysian tak ramai pun kat sana kan compared to Filipino, Japanese, Chinese ni memanglah sangat ramai. Pergi mana pun nampak Okay. Ni. Macam contoh Puerto Rican ni, dia orang ni adalah orang islander kat pulau tau. Mereka ni they speak Spanish but they are American citizen. Dia adalah satu jajahan Amerika. So dia ni sebab apa? Mereka ni bila pergi ke US mainland, they are considered foreigners in terms of language because they cannot speak English. They speak Spanish. So US born American ni, kalau orang yang apa macam di Florida contohnya kan, Florida tu kebanyakannya orang-orang daripada islander ni kan, mereka cakap apa Spanish kan Jadi itulah, jadi maknanya kadang-kadang bahasa yang you bercakap akan menyebabkan tekanan mental. Contoh saya bagi contoh. Katalah kan student from rural areas lah dekat Malaysia ni, most of them they cannot speak English fluently lah, which is okay lah from my perspective Tapi bagi orang yang tidak pernah bercampur, psychologists who never mix with low income group, never mix with rural population, dia akan rasa you should learn English, benda-benda macam tu lah, sebab they fail to put themselves in their patients shoes Okay, ni kita tengok ni kat Malaysia macam ni. You tengok orang muda lagi banyak masalah. Sebab apa? Sebab orang dah tua-tua, dia pangkat dah tinggi, duit dia mungkin dah cukup, dia don't compete with contoh nak naik pangkat, they are going to bersara kan. Tapi jadi kalau orang-orang yang muda ni, mereka masih they are struggling with their life Ni kat Malaysia punya Kalau kita lihat pula yang ni, kalau pandemik sekarang masih lagi, they call it endemic, tapi itulah macam tu kan 60% ini di UN punya report of women and lelaki macam ni. Kenapa agaknya? Mungkin to me due to culture, sebab wanita ni dia are emotion based, whereas lelaki ni they hide their feeling Okay. Sikit lagi, okay. Dah habis dah. Saya habiskan awal, bukan apa. So kita boleh Q&A sebab saya pun kalau waktu Indonesia tu dalam 10:30 pun saya ada benda lain kan.
Okay, yes.
Okay, saya serahkan balik kepada pengerusi Mas Tiara.
Thank you so much, Professor Melati. All right, thank you for the explanation, Professor. Well, all participants here, we just listened presentation by Professor Melati, right? That was very comprehensive about mental health in general to specific examples of mental health issues, and their determinants, like how cultures, the Professor Melati highlighted effects for our mental. Indonesia similar to Malaysia, Professor, very rich culture. And I agree, 100% agree with Professor Melati remarks in beginning, and all the whole explanation that mental health are not only influenced by individual attributes such as personality traits and other personal qualities, but person mental health are also influenced by the social determinants, social environment in which a person finds himself or herself, and the environment in which they live, include cultures, norms, community beliefs, workplace, campus, or public condition. Okay, then we are come to Q&A, questions and answer sessions. You can raise hand button and we will welcome you to open mic and asking directly. Oh, already on cam, Ernest, Mas Dani, or Afif maybe want to ask directly to Professor Melati. Please just open your mic, But before, Professor, it's already on the chat box. Asri maybe want to ask directly.
I saw it. Saya nampak.
Okay.
So Asri is asking how we can encourage public mental health awareness even COVID has passed and mental issue proven spread widely. Seem that our society will not friendly enough with this issue. As we learn, society and culture can be supporter or barrier. Okay, sebenarnya this is our role. This is our role to do the advocacy job. Advocacy job. It will take years. When you advocate, when you advocate, you ask. You go to the public, and you cannot see the impact of your advocacy job, in a short time. Saya bagi contoh, macam contoh dulu kan, dulu dekat Malaysia, that was in 90s. Dah lama dah ni. Tu masa zaman saya when I was still in college doing undergrad degrees. Pada masa itu, in that particular time, mereka tak boleh terima, mereka fikir, most people think sesiapa yang boleh memberi nasihat, mereka adalah kaunselor, mereka adalah pada walaupun orang itu tak pernah belajar psikologi, walaupun introduction to psikologi. So siapa contohnya? Ustaz-ustaz, siapa lagi? Motivator dekat TV, kalau you keluar TV selalu you pandai cakap kan? So mereka ni adalah orang-orang yang dianggap counselor, psychologist. So people will seek help dengan orang-orang yang macam ni. Which is tak salah, you minta tolong. Bukan saya kata salah ke tak salah. Tetapi isunya, mereka ini kadang-kadang tak faham maksud mental health. Saya macam contoh kan katalah orang-orang agama, mereka bagus. Dia ni bagus. Saya sokong. Saya sendiri dulu belajar di sekolah menengah agama. Mereka memberi nasihat betul. Tetapi kalau mereka tidak ada asas dalam psikologi, they may misjudge their patient, their client. Jadi kita kena advocate tentang, maknanya satu benda yang saya selalu bagi tahu ialah kita perlukan orang agama, kita perlukan orang dalam macam-macam bidang. Kita kena bekerjasama. Kalau if you go to a psychiatrist, dia hanya prescribe medication, betul tak? Walaupun you sakit apa pun, maknanya kalau dia dah ada ni, sebab kalau dia guna DSM, kalau dia tadi jadi over pathologizing clinician, dia prescribe medication. Betul tak? Sebab itu kita sendiri ni, you psychologist, you kena buat advocacy group. Buat kecil-kecil, tak apa. Sebab itu kalau salah satu teori dalam psikoterapis, which is feminist tu kan, dia galakkan advocacy group. Mula-mula you buat dekat family you supaya dia faham. Lepas tu baru you go to the larger group. Contoh dekat you punya residential areas. So they understand it is very important to take care of your mental health, and it is equivalent in mental health and physical health is equivalent. But you kena buat kecil-kecil. Advocacy group memang dia tak, tapi of course lah dia kalau nak dia lagi cepat, of course if we can influence politicians sebenarnya, sebab politician ni they have the power. Dia ada power. Lepas tu if we can go to the media, sebab media pun boleh spread tentang awareness ini, awareness tentang pentingnya. Macam kenapa orang bunuh diri kan, kenapa orang sekarang, dan saya lihat hari ini kat Malaysia orang dah ada kefahaman sikit. Of course dia tak faham betul, tapi dia much better than compared into the 90s. Masa 90s lagi orang tak boleh terima sakit mental, hantar pergi hospital mental, asingkan. Sekarang mereka dah boleh terima, bukan terima 100%, tapi gradually they accept that mental health must be treated. Walaupun masih banyak lagi kerja-kerja advokasi yang kita perlu lakukan. Okay? Dia tak akan ada satu, one single solution for it lah. Sebab kalau kita buka abnormal psychology, buku abnormal psychology textbook yang tebal-tebal tu kan, saya pernah ajar subjek abnormal psychology many years ago. So ada satu rawatan dulu zaman dulu tak tahu, lupa saya tahun berapa. Kalau kita baca sejarah dia, rawatan tu ialah if you diagnosed with mental illness, dia buat brain surgery, betul tak? Sebab buka buku ada ni dulu zaman yang teruk. Kalau you tengok macam Prince Philip, King Philips yang baru meninggal dunia baru ni kan, suami Queen Elizabeth, mak dia tu ada form of mental illness. So the mom ni, mak bapak dia ni Greek royal dekat Greek, hantar dia ni pergi dekat mental health institution sebab dia memalukan. Tu keluarga dia raja tau. That was in tahun 1800 berapa. So bila mak dia keluar, mak dia ni dipisahkan dengan Philips ni. Philips ni kira macam katalah balik sekolah tengok mak dah tak ada. So dia tidak membesar dengan mak dia. Bila mak dia dikeluarkan daripada institusi ni, Philips tu dia dah kahwin dengan Queen, dia bawa mak dia pergi England. Dia bawa pergi England. Tapi mak dia ni dah lama sangat duduk kat mental health institution. So mak dia decided to be a nun. Jadi nun tau, jadi padri. So mak dia pun meninggal sebagai seorang padri. Sebab dia disisihkan. So kita boleh bayang macam tu sekali. Itu keluarga diraja, bukannya kita orang biasa-biasa. Jadi advocacy job is very important for us to instill awareness. Mulakan dengan orang yang dekat dengan anda. Okay. Kalau kat kampus, kita kena buatlah booth ke apa macam tu lah. Memang macam baru ni saya punya 2 intern student kan, dia buka booth, dia are doing internship lah, dia jadi dia panggilkan nama dia kena orang-orang muda suka lah sebab ke college kan, dia panggil cafe 18, dia nak panggil teenager sama muda ni. Kalau ada masalah, you datang dulu cakap-cakap. Kita tak adalah paksa dia datang sesi tak. You cakap dulu, you find someone who can talk to you, bla bla. And then barulah dia nampak, oh ada sebenarnya someone that I can refer to if I have issues. Baru dia nampak. Benda-benda kecil-kecil macam tu. Do something small but significant. Okay, I hope I answer your question. Asri?
Okay, thank you, Professor. Asri, have you satisfied with the answer? Okay. Okay, thank you, Asri, for the response. Yeah, next turn, there is questions from Dila, Prof. Would you like me to read the question for you, Professor?
Dila, okay. This is
Yeah, Dila.
Okay, I would like to know your opinion about whether it is actually possible for mental health professional from one country to have clients from different countries and culture, provided that the professional learn about the client's culture too. Have you ever had people professionally from other countries? How would you deal with this type of client? Okay, my answer is yes. Yes, sebab tadi saya dah sebut, let's say even though let's say your client is Indonesian, kan Dila, let's say your client is Indonesian, that doesn't guarantee that you understand his or her culture. So cuma let's say the client is someone from other countries. I have put myself as a client tau. Saya dah pernah buat. When I was in state, I become a client. I want to see how culturally sensitive is the psychologist tau saya. Tapi I went there to the center with the real issue lah. Jangan create issue. Kata you tak rasa benda tu. You tak rasa benda tu. I went there, so I can see how culturally sensitive was the psychologist. Sebab things about my culture that she doesn't understand, she will ask me. She will clarify with me. Sebenarnya dalam perhubungan menolong, yang penting ialah klien tu dia memang ready untuk berubah. Maknanya they trust the counselors and the psychologists. Jadi maknanya walaupun psychologists or counselors tu from culturally different than the client, dua-dua saling ingin membantu dan dibantu, it can work. Dia boleh. Cuma you akan lebih struggle sikit sebab banyak benda mungkin you tak pasti. Saya bagi contoh my first client, masa saya di sana, saya ada jumpa klien klien saya tu adalah orang kulit putih, gay. Gay. Isu dia bukan dia gay. Isu dia gay dan jiran dia buat verbal harassment. Okay, verbal harassment. Jadi dia tertekan. Jadi isu dia tekanan. Okay. Kita mungkin rasa dah lah, kita ni Muslim kan. Kalau saya Muslim, so saya tak setuju dengan gay, tapi saya tak adalah nak halang non-Muslim nak praktis gay tu, itu hak mereka lah. Jadi I don't raise the issue of homosexuality. Tak lah, because it is not his issue. We focus on tentang tekanan yang dia hadapi. Okay. Fortunately, this client walaupun she saw me, I'm wearing hijab tu macam ni, tapi dia tidak ada rasa prejudice. He was willing to see me every week. Jadi sebab itulah, maknanya apabila relationship between the client and the psychologist ni can be developed, trust can be developed, ia boleh berlaku. Satu keadaan lain pula, saya bagi contoh. Satu keadaan lain, saya ada klien, dia wanita bangsa Bangladesh. Sama agama dengan saya ni, Muslim. Tapi saya tak faham budaya dia. There are so many things that I don't know about her culture. Because she came to the session dengan spousal issue. Selama ni kita baca je kan, tengok TV tapi tak tahu. Jadi I was struggling to understand her culture even though she's Muslim. Nampak tak? Ada aspek kita macam sama, kita ingat sama, tak sama. So treat each of your client that come to you ni orang yang lain daripada you, lain dari sudut budaya. Barulah you can become a culturally sensitive psychologist. Kalau you rasa alah ni Indonesian juga, saya pun Indonesia, mesti saya faham. Tidak. Jangan buat macam tu. Sebab bila macam tu, more likely you become a judgmental psychologist. Okay, next. Saya harap saya ada ni lah. Saya ada lagi soalan ni, dia kata kan, ni siapa ni? Dila okay.
Okay, the actual questions, Frida, Professor. Frida Rufina. Yeah,
Okay,
because it seems 10 more minutes,
okay,
so
Frida,
maybe
Frida,
the two questions
Frida.
by Frida and Iksan is enough, yeah, for us now. Okay,
Okay.
Professor.
Okay, the question from Frida. I'm interested about cultural role on deciding about someone's psychological condition. Here in Indonesia, there are many ethnic groups, and each of this group has their own view about what's normal and not. I have any suggestion for us to prepare ourselves when dealing with clients from various background, especially cultures that are very different from us, because I think there will be obstacle to educate and treat people from the culture. First of all, you need to develop rapport. Develop rapport first. Don't be too hurry to solve their problem. Develop rapport first. One trust has been built, so the client feels safe to talk to you, and then you should be ready to explore their culture. For instance, let's say they talk about their parents, kita boleh tanya lah, contoh, okay, may I know from your culture, what is parents' role, contohnya. Macam dulu kan saya berbual dengan kawan saya ni orang kulit putih, dia duduk, mak bapak dia di California. So saya tanya dia kan, how frequent you visit your parents? Maybe in many years once. Saya kata, I have to travel 24 hours in order to see my mom. And then saya boleh tengok mak saya, and you ni duduk satu negara, dalam hati, saya cakap dalam hati dengan dia. Tapi saya rasa nak cakap, and then saya pun terfikir, no. Dia culture, it is okay. It is acceptable. So sebab pada masa itu, dalam hati saya, I was judging her from my perspective. Nampak tak? Saya akan kata dia ni anak yang tak mengenang budi lah, from Malay culture lah, macam tu lah. Takkanlah ada duit pun tak boleh nak fly. Saya 24 jam perjalanan, kalau terbang pun boleh balik. You pergi California baru 4 jam pun tak nak balik. Saya akan cakap macam tu lah kalau if I am not culturally sensitive. Okay. So jadi maknanya kan kita kata kan, kalau you tak, if you are not sure, if you are not sure, ask, tanya. Bertanya satu, and then you consult your colleague satu. You can also consult orang dalam culture tu. You boleh tanya dia. Maknanya as a psychologist, the learning process never stop even though after graduation. Kalau you dah graduate pun, you masih kena belajar. Okay. The last question is from Muhammad Ehsan. There is a strange situation that happened in your family several months before the passed away event. It all happened 3 times. The first is on my grandmother, the second is from uncle, and the third is from my grandfather. Several months before they pass away, my grandmother and my uncle get something like schizophrenia symptom. They become a completely different person from the past that we never meet at all. I'm afraid this kind of situation will happen to me someday on the several months before I pass. Okay. Ini satu contoh lah, neurotic anxiety. You don't know when you will die, Ehsan. Tu satu lah. Apa yang berlaku dekat datuk nenek anda, bapa anda ke semua tu, tak ada kemestian. It is not a must it will happen to you. Tu satu. Lagi satu, you kata you get something like schizophrenia. Mungkin bukan pun. Sebab I believe that it was left undiagnosed. We just don't know. Benda-benda kita tak tahu benda tu. Kita tak boleh kata bila dia sebelum dia meninggal dia macam tu, and then I will inherit lah that symptom. Something that is not proven lah, even from medical perspective, even though I'm not a medical doctor. Maknanya it is an example lah macam mana you bimbangkan perkara yang belum berlaku. Yeah, so saya untuk you prevent benda ni, you kata how do I prevent? Of course lah, I don't have a tips to share, tapi maknanya it's very good for you to maintain your psychological health. Sama seperti you maintain your physical health. Contoh psychological health, how to maintain your psychological health. You need a strong support system. Contoh kan you need someone to talk to. You cannot live alone in an island. You tak boleh duduk seorang-seorang. Lepas tu you need to find something that will make you happy, sebab every day, every now and then, setiap hari memang ada je sources of stress, mesti ada. Tak payah jauh. Kalau saya ni keluar rumah driving, kalau saya keluar rumah saya driving, saya memang akan jumpa traffic queue lah. Bulan puasa dia punya jam akan naik. Dia akan lagi teruk. So jadi I have to find a way on how to lower the risk of depression masa bulan puasa. Sebab bila at my age kalau saya terlalu stress, it is not good for my physical health. Maknanya you kena balance lah between your physical and your mental health. Okay, I hope I respond to your question. Okay, I think that's all, Mas Tiara.
Yeah, so thank you. Okay, Iksan and yeah, maybe dissatisfied by Iksan, yeah, the response. Okay, because of the limited time, we have to end our meeting now. So sorry, Professor Melati and friends, yeah, students. Actually, I'm sure there's still a lot of discussion to be had. But once again, hopefully, in the next chances, yeah, we could meet and gather in other events. Okay, Professor Melati and all the students here, Alhamdulillah, yeah, thank you, grateful to God so that we can complete our activities just now. And all participants, finally we come to the last agenda. Yeah, we would like to say once again, thank you for Professor Melati Sumari from University of Malaya and all the audiences for active participation today. Let me conclude in short way about our lecture today, yeah, by the explanation from Professor Melati before. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Yeah, it affects how we think, feel, and act as we cope with life and pay attention in terms the impact of the culture, yeah, and the social environment. Okay. Hopefully our guest lecture today has give benefit for us. Many thanks for your attentions and see you later in the next agenda. And please take our apologize for our mistakes or if there are shortcomings during these lectures. And maybe for our documentations, before I'm going to end the Zoom meeting, please the students take photo for the documentations you can on cam, yeah. If you could on cam, yeah. There are so many students, Afif, Rida, Mas Dani, Iksan, how are you today?
Now I see your
Anggi,
faces.
yeah, Ernest, Fania, Ganesha, Asri, yeah, Ainin, Dila, and others. How are you today? Please, you can greet Professor Melati. Yeah.
Thank you,
Really.
Professor. Hope you being always healthy.
Most welcome. Inshallah we'll meet again in the future.
Amin.
Amin,
Hopefully,
amin.
Prof. Okay, there are 3 pages, so I will take a shot, yeah, and please pause 1, 2, 3. Okay, please wait a second. Okay. And the next page. 1, 2, 3. Good. And the last page. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay, it's already has taken by me the documentations, and so we can end this Zoom meeting. Okay, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Thank you again.
wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Professor.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. You can leave, or I am going to end the meeting.